I wanted to find out how dangerous the Echosolvent ink is. So I decided to conduct an experiment. I thought this experiment would be interesting for you to notice. This is acetone. This is Echosolvent. And acetone is more like a methylated spirit, only that it is extremely high concentration. If you open this cap and you smell it, it can be so intoxicating that it could actually affect your lungs. It can affect someone in your head. It's a dangerous chemical. It's like the chemical that is used in furniture paint making. It's similar to thinner, but it's not. But something in that nature. And this is your very old XP600 Echosolvent ink. Now, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pour both of these into their respective cups. You see, I've labeled this one is Echosolvent and this one is acetone. So I'm going to pour this right now. And watch what I'm about to do. Eventually, we're going to answer the question, how dangerous is Echosolvent to your XP600 printer head? Right? So I'm just going to close this up. And I'm going to close this up. And then I'll open this up. And then we'll also pour this. Don't mind the fact that they're all sounding like water and they're clear. I purposely bought this particular transparent cup so you could see it. I bought it fresh actually, just for this experiment. All right, so I'm going to turn it around. So we know which one is acetone, and then we know this one is Echosolvent, so I'm going to turn it on. Now I have two ATM cards, right? And we're going to see how these ATM cards actually behave under this very dangerous substance. And then this is not to see the winner, it's actually to check how dangerous is this with your XP600 printer head. Both of these things are plastics. They're not paper, plastics. So the rate at which this dissolves and which dissolves first is what we're trying to cover in this video. I think the Echosolvent ink is actually not at the same level as the acetone. I want both of them to be in the same level, right? Now it looks like my acetone is now lower than my XP600 ink. You need to watch this to the end because this is actually very fun. I'm just curious, right? In the end, we'll hope to be able to know why your XP600 ink is dangerous when it comes to why an Echosolvent ink is dangerous to your XP600 printhead. All right, so let's start. So I'm going to dip this guy inside acetone now, and then I'm going to dip this guy inside the Echosolvent ink. Now we're going to pay attention to how both of them behave under these substances. I don't know if you can notice what's going on. Very quickly, the acetone is already peeling up the MagSafe. Now the MagSafe is down. And every other printed element on the acetone is already chipping away. What about the Echosolvent? Well, the Echosolvent is also melting, as you see. So it looks like we're starting with the external coatings first. For the acetone, you see that that's quickly dropped off. By the way, acetone is spirit-like, so which means if you place your hand inside this, it starts to dry up almost instantly. Can you see? It starts to dry up almost instantly. Whereas the Echosolvent doesn't behave like that. So you need to put that into consideration. Both of them are solvents, but they are not solvent in the exact same way. All right, so now remember what this one looked like previously. Now, looking at it from this angle, you can see that the paper on the Echosolvent has peeled. It should be falling off soon enough. I don't know if I could zoom in so you can see. Can you see that? So soon enough, it'll fall off. The mag stripe is also peeling off gradually. I don't know if you can see that. It's also peeling off gradually. So those are the coatings. Also, that one is also peeling off. Let me be sure it's not the cup that is messing with me. All right, so let's zoom back out and then keep watching. By the way, these things are the digital coatings that do the major work. So far, the mag stripe is also peeling, but unlike the Echosolvent, this one is actually decaying. Can you see? Whereas this one fell up like a cloth, this one is decaying. I don't know if you can see that. It's just literally decaying. So if you come back to the other side, remember this was the Echosolvent, and then this was the acetone, right? So I'm going to pause this video now, and then we'll come back to see, or maybe I'll just stay. Now, if you look at the mark stripe, can you see that? Now it is coming, that one is also coming down. Can you see? I don't know about you, but this is actually very satisfying to watch. By the way, it's actually a friend of mine that gave me this ATM cards. He no longer uses them, so that one also drops off. But I'm sure we're going to see a lot more droppings in a few minutes. Right, still going.
So I'm going to pause this now, and I'm going to put this on high-speed recording so that we can see how this eventually disintegrates and what it disintegrates to. I think gradually you begin to see how dangerous the Echosolvent ink actually is. I'm sure nobody needs to tell you that anymore. That if you put any substance in an Echosolvent, it starts to dissolve. And it dissolves, like we said, from the surface. And that's why those things peel up and then they just fall down. Now, initially, I don't know if you can see this, right? So that's a disintegration that's going on. This one is also disintegrating. You probably might not notice it, but it's actually disintegrating. Alright, so I don't know if you noticed this. The laminate paper is now coming off. So that means the lamination paper is now coming off.
Alright, so now the cover has come out. By now you should be able to see the electronic strips that makes your payment work. I don't know if you can see it. Alright, so I don't know if you can see this, but you can see the electronic strip, all the electronic wirings that make your ATM work. That's pretty much it. So far, the laminate paper is out for the front, but for some wild purpose, the back is not working yet. But we're still going. And then, if you check the solvent, it's still struggling to dissolve things. I suppose it's actually, I think it's doing its own job. It's just that it's doing its own job in a different way, you know, as opposed to the way the acetone is doing its own work. It's definitely peeling up, but I think it's peeling up in a way that dissolves rather than the way this one does. But we're still watching, and eventually we'll know what happens. But so far, if you need fast action, looks like the acetone is your best shot. Right, like I said, we're still going. So we'll go to the back again. Right, I don't know if you see this, but the entire ATM card has actually dissolved. Totally, completely. So the pins, those are the pins for the ATM card. So all of those are just carefully lined up on the card. And so that's the chip that makes this guy work. So there goes the acetone, still working, but it has totally dissolved the cards. So your ATM card can actually be dissolved by solvent. We're still waiting for the Echosolvent to work its own thing. I still feel we should wait a bit more to see how this one turns out. I assume the same thing will happen with the Echosolvent. It's just a matter of patience. So, and I think I do have that patience right now, so I'm just gonna wait. But you see, as against the way this one behaves, I don't know what it feels like to put acetone inside solvent directly, but I've done it. My hands still exist. Now, one thing I noticed between the two solvents though is that this one separates, right? This one just pretty much separates what from what, right? It doesn't particularly dissolve it, but it does separate. If it's chemicals too, it will do that separation. So what you see with the acetone is that it will separate one substance from the other. If it's plastic, if there's glue in between, it's going to separate every element separately, differently. Whereas this guy though acts a little differently. This one attempts to dissolve it. So with the solvent, you may not see separation. That's why this is a lot quicker. But with the solvent, with the Echosolvent, it's actually dissolving it. Let me show you what I mean by it's dissolving it. Can you see? Can you see the blob? Good. It's actually dissolving it one after the other. So by the time it's done, you're going to have, this one is jelly-like. This is the same laminate sheet of the other one, but it dissolves it. I'm just going to let this run for a few more, whether like about an hour more, and see what's really going to happen. I'm patient, guys. We're still going. And don't forget, what we're trying to achieve is to show you why the Echosolvent was chosen as a method of ink printing, but why the very same reason why it was chosen is why it destroys things. If you look at this now, it comes in contact with plastic, any form of plastic, and it begins to melt it, right? It begins to melt it. And so that's pretty much how it does on your large format banner. As you're spraying ink with your printhead on the banner, because you are spraying light liquid, that's why you don't notice that it first dissolves the surface of your banner or your SAV. That's why you don't notice it. Well, that's pretty much what it does. It just dissolves the surface. But because there is a structured dissolve, that's why you think it's printing. It's not really printing. It's actually dissolving the surface. But because it's dissolving the surface in a structured manner, it looks like a printed artwork. And that's why the artworks tend to last, because it dissolves the surface before then binding to the surface. So if the liquid were so much that it could cause a puddle, it would have transported. And if it transports, that's what you call a stain or any other thing like that. But because it's light, the spray is light, it's not in puddles, the spray is light, and because it is structured, then it looks like an artwork. But then, I'm still eager to see what will eventually become of this precious ATM card. We already see what's going on, if you look at this very well. By the way, this guy is still dissolving. I don't see how this is going to melt. It's only going to dissolve, right? And this is interesting though. Can you see? I wonder if this thing will work. I'm curious to see, but I suspect it will work because the plastic actually doesn't work. It's this chip that actually does your payment. And so by the way, this is exactly what does your payments. So this chip is only just controlled by your card, plastic card, but it's the chip that actually does the print. Clever engineering, isn't it? All right, so far we're still disintegrating, but the major part of it is actually still held together. But I can see slight disintegration from the underneath. I don't know if you can see this. I don't know if you can see that tiny thing down there. So that tells you it's also pulling apart. It's just taking a while, but soon enough you're going to see this thing disintegrate. I am still deciding to keep on going with it. I want to see how it breaks down. As by this guy, of course, it's all paper now, isn't it? So that was an ATM. This is an ATM and it's still holding. But again, there's a couple of things you need to put into consideration. This one separates, like I said, but this one dissolves. So we can't say it's not dissolving because it's still holding up. It's actually dissolving. And everything on it is actually dissolving. It's just that it wants to break everything down and dissolve it. So it's not like it's a saint. It's just that it has not separated. I'm actually tempted to just stop the video here. But I think I'll just let it go on more. I want to see what will eventually happen. When I say dissolve, I don't know if you can see that. It's disintegrating. But not like acetone is. Alright, so we come to the end of this, but I needed to show you something. That after about 2 hours, or 1 hour, 30 minutes, this is what we come up with. So if you look at this, it's essentially dissolves the surface. I don't know if you can see this. It dissolves everything about the surface. Can you see that? Now, so something is very important to note in this discovery. That this is exactly how your XP600 printer head prints. What it does is that it starts by dissolving the top layer. right? So when it dissolves the top layer, because the method of dissolving it is a liquid and it's colorful, by the time it dries up, that thing you call dissolve becomes the print. And so because it has dissolved it, it has altered the shape of that place. And if you expose it under the sun, that's why it lasts a lot longer than water. Because it's not just that it printed on the surface, it's that it actually bound to the surface of that material. And so because it bounds to the surface of the material, then it's able to last a lot longer. But to the actual question, which is, why is it dangerous for your XP600 printer head? Well, so I think that should be self-explanatory now. You see, the surface of this XP600 printer head is actually plastic, but it's not an ordinary plastic. It's actually more like a composite, so it's not just ordinary plastic. Now, what you really have a problem with is this chip. Because if we can see that it dissolves a plastic this way, and then we know that the part of the material that the printer head is made of is also contains some element of plastic. The moment the solvent touches the face of that object, it begins to melt it. Now, if the surface of that object is supposed to be an electronic plate, then once you alter the shape of that electronic plate, then you cause a damage in the cavity of the printer head. And that's why the printhead no longer works. Think of it like the way the pins of these things is separated from its mother. That's a similar way in which the Echosolvent alters the shape of the printed electronics. The only difference is that this one is going to actually even disintegrate that compound that was made by. And so that's pretty much really what I wanted to show you. That the Echosolvent, while it is a perfect liquid that can bind on the surface of your material and then make your printing last long, it is also the reason why it can damage your printer head. Because as they say, if Echosolvent is ecological solvent, it is still a solvent, only that it is at least a lot more friendlier on your skin. But it's a solvent nonetheless, which means it dissolves things. Alright, I hope this has helped you. If it has, I want you to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, turn on the notification bell, and I'll see you in another video. Bye. Take care.